Hey y'all, welcome back. I'm Shayna Cersei and I'm so excited to paint with you today. Today we're going to do another page in our watercolor journals, and I just got back from a little day trip and picked up some other little supplies. So I got these really cute binder clips for my journal, which I love just the aesthetic of these. They do nothing different than the old binder clips, but I just really liked them, and I found them in this cute little artist market. It was like a stationery store. And I also found this little journal book, but it has all these watercolor swatches on it. So I just felt like I needed to have it. But I'm going to start to try to be more organized and be more mindful and start writing down ideas. Because a lot of times when I come to paint for a video, I just don't know exactly what I'm going to do. And I think that's okay too. I don't have to be super organized, but I am going to start to make lists. One of those lists are the painting ideas from comments that I've been getting. So I'm going to start making sure I write all of those down in an organized way, not on Post-its or scrap pieces of paper, so I can find them. I have a few more to go through to write down, but I'm going to put these in here so that way I can reference it. Doesn't mean I'm going to paint every single thing that every single person comments. I would love to, but there's just not enough time in the week or the day and or motivation in my heart all the time to get to everything. But it definitely gives me ideas and kind of keeps the creative juices flowing. And then, of course, writing down my own ideas as I get inspiration from living in the world and being here. So that I just wanted to share with you. I'm going to try to be more mindful and start writing things down. One of the suggestions in the comments, which I do write down who said it too. Someone had said more tiny landscapes, try it Tuesdays. So Try It Tuesdays was a series I did a while back where we did these tiny, we painted small without a lot of pressure. A lot of people feel a lot of pressure in their watercolor journals or on a watercolor piece of paper that they're going to ruin it the minute they paint on it. And that they don't want to waste supplies and materials on the learning process. They just want to be experts from day one. But unfortunately, that's just not the way it works. No matter how much raw talent you have, the majority of what you see and admire about other artists is the time and hours and effort and hard work that they've put in to learn the craft and skill, not their raw talent, myself included. So we used to do these smaller paintings. We would get 4 different kind of paintings out of one page, so it would take the pressure off a little bit. So I'm going to do that today. We're going to do some tiny landscapes. We'll probably just do 2 today, and then I'll do excuse me, 2 more on another day. And then, yeah, we'll keep it going from inspiration from the comments, from my real life, so on and so forth. Okay, we're almost at video 200. Going over supplies materials really quick. I have a 6x9 watercolor journal. This is Bao Hong, is the brand of this one. 100% cotton paper, 140-pound cold press. My favorite texture and weight of paper to paint on. I also have my Core Paints QOR by Golden. This is just a swatch card of all of the colors that are in that palette. And then I have a couple of brushes with me today. I have a size 10, a size 6, and a size 3. They're all rounds. These are all Princeton brushes. 2 of them are Velvet Touch. 1 is an Aqua Elite. All depends on your brush preference. Do you like snappier brushes? Do you like softer brushes? Natural hairs, synthetics, so on and so forth. But these are the 3 I have today. All right, so let's get painting our landscapes. I'm going to zhuzh this over just a little bit. And we'll keep it zoomed at that width. You can always zoom in later in post-edit. All right, so I am going to start over here. I want to start here, but then when I paint over here, I'm going to run my hand through this. So I'm going to start over here. I do that every time. I don't know why. So we're going to start with our tiny landscape, and we had a beautiful sunrise this morning. Spring is finally here, and I'm going to do basically just a simple sunrise landscape. You can paint sunrises in all different ways. I'm going to start with some Quinacridone Magenta and some Diarylide Yellow. That's a very warm yellow. My yellow's a little muddy right now. When you have muddy yellows, you can just kind of swirl over the top layer and then take that layer off with a little paper towel and then go back in and swirl again, and you'll have a cleaner yellow. So some Diarylide yellow, some Quinacridone magenta, and mix together. Those will get you a nice orange. And I'm also going to pull in some of this Cobalt Teal, I think. No, it's too warm of a blue. Actually, it's not too warm of a blue. It's too cool of a blue. I'm going to pull in some Ultramarine, which is a warmer blue for sunrise. So 3 primary colors that are going to make my sunrise. And I'm going to have a horizon line, so there's going to be some other stuff in this lovely sunrise. I'm going to start with my blue at the top. You could do this wet on wet, but I'm just doing wet on dry, but keeping a nice beaded edge. I'm going to pop in some magenta, and I'm going to kind of keep it, give it a little angle to it. And then as we get down, I'm going to add some yellow. And the way and order in which I added these is natural to a sunset. And they mix together nicely. If I put the blue and yellow together, I'm going to get green in the sky. And that's not necessarily what you want. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom with this. But when you put the magenta together, magenta will mix lovely with the blue, which creates some purples, and also with yellow, which creates oranges, because that's how they work on the color wheel. And we can add layers over this of clouds. Just adding a little yellow up in the top there. All right, so we're going to let this dry, and then we're going to put in some foreground. That's going to be a little bit in silhouette at sunrise. We get these beautiful silhouettes of everything around us as the sun comes up and that bright light starts to shine through the back of things. So we'll put some silhouettes on there of some kind, and maybe some clouds over top in a few places. But I love painting sunrises. They're super easy and very flexible in that you can do it a million different ways. You can paint the same 3 colors. Actually, you know what? Let's do that. Let's use the same 3 colors, but try to do them in different ways, slightly different ways. Let's see if I can push myself. I don't know how well this is going to be. I'm going to go darker on the blue this time. And I'm going to go further down. Oh, this might be actually, I can do all 4 of these right now. Darker on the blue, further down. And now I'm going to leave a little white line in there, I think. I'm going to make this more saturated, more dramatic, like right at the... Don't worry, we'll get to clouds and things that can also change. So this can be certainly a fun experiment to see like how different you can make them look. I'm going to do one here where I'm going to give it a lot of perspective, I think. And you know what? Let's do this one wet on wet. I'm going to take my water. I'm going to just make these swoops, like rays like this. I have no idea if this is going to work. going to start at the top. So my point is right here. So I want all my lines to kind of come to this point for this to work. And I did this wet on wet because I really wanted the, as we're doing this, I wanted it to be soft, these lines to be soft and blend together. I didn't want to create any harsh lines right away. Trying to avoid some areas to leave some white. All right, we're going to do like strong yellow here. And see how quickly I've done this? This is less than 10 minutes. I'm on my third one. And then you can also like pull out color. So I can rinse my brush off to create like lighter rays. I'm pulling color off and then I'm wiping my brush off camera. And then putting darker color in next to go all the way down to the bottom here as well. Adding in more magenta, which is definitely mixing with that blue. Let's go like, and you can mix on your palette too. Like we can mix the magenta and the yellow ahead of time before we bring it to the paper to ensure we have like a more of an orangey look. Just blending out some of these kind of harsher lines just a bit, and then we're going to let this dry. Just scrubbing. I take a little paper towel. I'm actually going to pull some of this color out right there to make that a little brighter white, and then I'm going to just drag the corner of my paper towel up through a few spots just to brighten it just a little bit. I'm going to go up through that magenta. I don't like how I have these harsh magenta lines here, but there's not much I can do to pull it out without kind of over muddying it. So I am going to, you can't beat them, join them. I'm going to make it kind of a harsher overall line rather than a dot there. I'm coming in with just some more blue at the top there. Okay, this one, definitely a lot of potential to get it too muddy if I'm not careful. So I'm going to stop and let it dry. All right, we have one more. Let's think about what we can do for this last one to make it really a little bit different. All right, I think with this one, I'm going to really play up the yellow and the pinks. The blue is kind of going to be very secondary to this whole thing. And we're going to make it more orange. Did I say the blue and the pinks? We're going to play up the yellows and the magentas. I'm going to work from the bottom up. I'm going to start with, and I could go with a lighter yellow, like a cadmium yellow light or a lemon yellow, but I'm going to stick with my Diarylide yellow. I'm going to go light down here, and I'm going to start mixing in the magentas. Let's do like a bowl like sweep like this. Make this very orangey. And bold. So orange and blue are also opposite each other on the color wheel, and you're going to get more of a gray when you mix those together than a purple. Just to keep that in mind. We are just bending light here. I'm going to put a very little bit of blue at the top, but it's going to be mostly purple mixed with that magenta. I like this. I like these kind of swooping lines here, but I'm going to keep the bottom light. Rinse my brush off. Pull some of this color up and away. So I'm just taking a damp brush that has nothing on it and just pulling up and away, like to keep the bottom bright and light towards the horizon. And then we're going to let that dry. There we go. So we have 4 different versions of Crazy Sunsets that use the same 3 colors, but they all look a little different. This is very light and pale. I'm going to let these dry and we'll put some foreground on them as well. All right, we're back, and these are all dry. And I'm going to put on some silhouetted foregrounds. I'm going to keep it really simple. The star of this show is not the foregrounds. We're just going to put some silhouetted foregrounds on to help make the skies pop a little more. Once you add that contrast, you can really see how the light reacts to that. And you can do foregrounds in a million different ways, and they can be super detailed, and they don't have to be simple, flat silhouettes, but we're going to do 4 of them, so we're going to keep them simple. You could do this 2 ways. 1, pick up black or Payne's gray from your palette, or you can mix the 3 colors that you have to create your own gray. So let's do that because I love mixing colors. So I'm going to take my blue and my magenta. I'm going to make a really dark purple. And then I'm going to add my Diarylide yellow to it. Take it right from the palette. So a little bit too much yellow. It's gone very red, or orangey red with the magenta. So all we have to do is add some more blue to get to that more neutral gray. There we go, or black. And I like this because, why do I like this? It's going to be more dimensional. It's not going to be perfectly flat black gray. It's going to have some influence from the colors. And it just feels more interesting. Sorry, I just added more paint to get more saturation and more paint and just create more of this. So I gotta get back. So this is it's quite purpley. My yellow it's a very warm yellow, so it has a lot of reds in it. So it's hard not to get like a slightly reddish tint or orangish tint to it. But if I add more, I just added a little cadmium yellow medium, which will help with that to neutralize it. So there we go. We have a lovely black gray color. And then when we add this on, and you can do multiple layers to get its darkest, most saturated version. So with dark colors, what I mean to say is with darker colors, as you put them on, they look really dark, but then as they dry a little lighter. You might have to do multiple layers to get the true full saturation of it in watercolor, which is the opposite in like acrylic and oil paints, where light colors, when you paint them, they tend to dry down or darker than when you first put them on. And you might need to put on more layers to create that truly bright, vibrant highlight. Anyway. Okay, so let's just paint some simple silhouettes. This one, let's just do, tree lines are the easiest. I'm actually going to use a slightly smaller brush. I'm going to use my size 3. Actually, this one, let's just do, I did one where we did like telephone poles. You know what, let's do a little perspective here. So we're going to have a tiny little pole back here. Okay, tiny, tiny, tiny. And it's going to come to a tall, keeping them very simple. So a little wider, a little taller telephone pole up here. I have a general idea of what a telephone pole looks like, but I'm not using a reference. So I'm going to kind of make some stuff up. I'm going to put some like edges on here, some like extra things sticking up. Again, it's in silhouette, so you don't know exactly what everything is. All right, so from here, we're going to follow this line, and they're going to get, we're just going to do 4, I think. And this one, I'm making them lean. This part should be straight up and down for the most part. And then this should be on the same line. Not the best I've ever done. And then we can just string some wire between them. And this one can go kind of off the page. They look more like crosses than telephone poles, but that's okay. But I don't know if you can see, as you put something darker or contrasty on it, it makes the brighter areas look, in fact, brighter. All right, simple, simple. I'll put a few birds in the sky. Put a few birds on the wires. There you go. Okay, so let's do something different over here. This one is giving me mountain vibes. I will say when you mix with ultramarine, ultramarine is a very heavy granulating color. So when you mix with it, if you let it sit, it starts to separate from the other colors. So you have to mix them back together before you paint with them. And they will even separate a little bit on the page. So don't be scared about that. It gives it, it makes it dynamic. It makes it unique. It gives it interest. If you hate that, don't use ultramarine. Okay, so let's just do some basic rolling mountains or rolling hills here. And keep them low. But again, like as I add this, look how much brighter that feels as you add the darker color. Let's do something a little taller here. There we go. And there's not much more you have to do for this. You could certainly add like layers that get lighter. You know, you could build mountains further back, but that's all you really need. Okay. Let's do something a little more closer up. This one, I think we'll do some trees around it. We'll just do some pines. I'm going to do boop, 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 boop. Simple pine trees. Something very thick down here. Along the edges, let's just do that here. I'm trying to decide like how I kind of want to leave this open or leave it maybe with just a few like little tops of trees somehow sticking up. These don't even need to be pines. A bit of a tree line, but I kind of want to keep that lightest color there. This I want to preserve that. So I'm just gonna kind of bobble my way across here, and then maybe over on this side. I don't know if I want to go as tall over here, or maybe I do. Just go for it. I'm going to put a really big tree like super in the foreground right here. That's going to even kind of go over top of some of these other things that we did. There we go. And I really like this mixed kind of reddish gray color for the silhouettes because I feel like it's really interacting with the light. It wouldn't be so dark black. It would have influence from the light, the silhouettes. I go back over and just put in some darker shadows in a few spots so they're not super flat silhouettes. There we go. And then what are we going to do for our last one? We could do like a cityscape. Let's go with a little bit bigger brush for that. So just some triangles, I guess. Triangles, some rectangles. All those triangular cityscape buildings. I really have to retire this size 6 brush. I've had it for so long, it really literally has no point on it. I don't know why I'm even continuing to use it. Okay. Unfortunately, yes, sometimes brushes have to be retired after several years. Sometimes less if you're not careful with them, which I'm not sometimes. All right, I'm going to get across with just a bunch of different layers. I wish I could make my buildings straight. You can tell I'm not the best with geometric shapes. I'm much better with organics. At least freehand. Could definitely leave some gaps, but I'm not going to. Like if you wanted to leave a gap between buildings like that. Which, yeah, let's leave that one. I'll make this one all the way to the edge here. Super big one. I'm sure these very not straight lines are driving someone crazy out there. They're like, just use a ruler. I know. All right, so we have a nice little city skyline. I'm going to add some darker shadows in some spaces. That helps separate buildings a little bit. And there we go. Our beautiful sunsets. We can put a few little extra things on top of maybe these taller buildings. Little bibs and bobs. But maybe not all of them. Just a few. Okay, I think I'm done. So that was fun. Let's dry these and take off the tape and see how our beautiful sunrises look. All right, we're back and things are dry. So for my telephone poles, I should have only done 2. I'm feeling this one and the one really far away and put the wire between them. But you know, you live, you learn. Again, that's why we practice in our journals. That's why we play in them and try things and do things that we think are right. And then it's like, nope, that wasn't it. And you say, if I just did it this way, and then the next time you're going to do it that way. All right, there are beautiful sunrise sunsets. I did not think we'd get all 4 done today, but I'm glad we did. And the star of the show was really experimenting with those 3 colors in 4 different ways in the sky. So thanks so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed this one. Don't forget to check out the description for links to supplies and materials. Go ahead and leave a comment. Share this video with someone who you think might also enjoy it. Save it for later. And I will see you for our next watercolor journal page very soon. Happy painting, y'all.